One group of people that we work with regularly are blended families, and we love working with the family dynamics and understanding how their family works. We have maybe spouses who are on their second marriage and they have children from their previous marriage. It might be a first marriage and there's children from a previous relationship. Whatever it is, there are 3 priorities that we need to figure out during this meeting. And the first one is, how do we care for the surviving spouse if that's something that's important? Sometimes the spouses have their own money. It's not a big deal. I pass away, my money goes to my kids. That spouse has their own assets, and that's great. Very regularly, though, we need to make sure we're providing for that surviving spouse. We could just give that spouse all the money, but that leads us into problem number 2, which is, do we want that surviving spouse to be able to redirect where that money goes? The worry for some families is that if I give everything outright to this spouse and they just have it, it's theirs, that they'll change their estate plan to favor their children and mine will be left with nothing. There's many ways to mitigate this. We could divide up how much goes to the spouse, how much goes to my kids. A very common thing is we have that money held aside for the benefit of the spouse. We have a money manager called a trustee who makes sure that that money is available for the surviving spouse, but the surviving spouse doesn't actually have control over it. Once this surviving spouse passes, this money in this trust that we created goes back to my children, and we're able to maintain my control over those assets for my family. And there's other ways to do it too. There are absolutely sort of I love you plans where it's just trust. Maybe they've had the same, they've been in this marriage for 40 years. They've had each other's kids since they were infants. And it's just not an issue. That happens as well, of course, but it depends on the family. The third thing we want to watch out for is what is the likelihood of one side of the family or the other feeling jealousy or feelings of neglect from money. Isn't love, but it could feel that way when one side is favored or the other. So what are our chances of someone disagreeing with these dispositions, feeling like it was unfair or manipulated? And there's things we can do to control that as well. We can have the money, again, there's a trust solution where that money is managed for these kids. We can spell out why we're making a distribution this way. We can keep it so that my assets go here, her assets go here, whatever it might be. We can put some disincentives into the document. There's something called a no contest clause where we say, if there isn't probable cause and you bring up a dispute, if you dispute this, if we go to court over this, you lose your share. There's a number of tools we can implement to control and bring peace of mind over this process and over this plan. We love working with blended families. We would love to work with you. Certainly give us a shout with any questions.